Welcome, Charlie Mackenzie, to the Larpar show where we talk about what is money, what is coming, and how to protect your family. Charlie is the deputy team principal of Bitcoin Racing Team, who are based in the UK, and he's going to here to share his story. So, Charlie, tell us about how did you find Bitcoin and how has it changed yours and your family's life?
Oh, what a brilliant question. And I want to say thank you so much for having us. I know I had to reschedule a couple of times because things are getting a bit crazy. But you stuck with us and we're here now. So I really appreciate it. And I've enjoyed watching your show as well, especially when you had Jason on, which was very cool. So yeah, I guess to start the story, I always start it back in 2008. And I always say it's not because we found Bitcoin when it was worth pennies. But it's actually because my family, was very negatively affected by the 2008 crisis. And my mum used to run three restaurants at the time, and things were going really well. And then 2008 came along, and suddenly people couldn't afford to eat out. They didn't have much income to go out and, enjoy nice things. So it absolutely devastated our businesses. So she lost all of those. Obviously, had to dissolve the businesses. My grandparents were involved as well, and they lost what was a really beautiful house in West Malling, like a proper country manor house. Absolutely beautiful house, and I always feel quite upset that we lost that. But it was like systemic in the family. We kind of lost everything and got sent back to square one. And then obviously from that period up to 2020, the hard thing was trying to keep the house that we have. And my mum, by some miracle, managed to just scratch by and get the interest. So she was able to pay the interest on the mortgage every month. And partly thanks to my sister who told her to put the house on spareroom.com. So we had loads of tenants coming in and paying rent, which was the reason we were able to pay those interest payments, but never pay off any of the principal. And then it got to March 2020, and we received a letter from Lloyds Bank saying that the mortgage term has only got 4 years left. Um, and within that period of losing the restaurants, it's crazy. But we were visited, maybe 20 times by bailiffs coming round. Had to go to court multiple times and had court orders. But luckily, my dad's a lawyer, so he was able to kind of obliterate them in the courtrooms, which worked well. But obviously, it was a really hard time because, having the stress of money problems and bailiffs coming around is not enjoyable at all. Um, but yeah, we got this letter. Lloyd said you've got 4 years to pay off the final sum, otherwise we're going to take your house. So we didn't like the sound of that. And my mum just said, let's have a family meeting, talk about this and see if we can find a way to um, a smart way to try and earn some money to stop that from happening. So we came up with the idea, maybe we start another restaurant because you've got experience in that, you know what you're doing. And when it was going well, it was really good. There was another opportunity we looked at buying a warehouse to be an Amazon distribution center. But my thought process was slightly different. And I say luckily COVID was around. Obviously, that was a horrible time. Um, but because of that, I just knew that there was going to be lots of money printing, that people's businesses were being forced to close, and that could lead to a recession. And obviously, because I'd lived through a recession with my family, I knew this one thing that recessions cause wealth transfers, and the money goes from the poor to the rich. So I just Googled, how do you get your family on the positive side of a wealth transfer? And that's how the journey begun. And I found this documentary called The Hidden Secrets of Money, which explains essentially how the banking system works, what causes inflation through fractional reserve banking. And we had our minds absolutely blown. It kind of showed us why we were wiped out in 2008 because of the nefarious activities the bankers get up to. And that documentary was actually focused on gold, but the eighth episode was about Bitcoin. So we just felt because Bitcoin is a system that's outside of the governments and the bankers that ruined everything for us in 2008, that one really resonates with us. So around that time, we decided, rather than starting these businesses which could fail, or could be closed by the government because of COVID. We'll just take an investment and hopefully that will go up in value and be able to help us save the house. So Bitcoin was sounds a bit lazy, but obviously that's the easier option to hope that you just make an easy investment, leave it there, and not have to do any work, not deal with any staff or the stress of running a business, and just let Bitcoin do the work. And indeed, it has done. So it's changed our life. It's made our financial system much more stable. Sorry, our financial situation more stable. And has given us the opportunity to save the house as well, which is just crazy. Because I was saying to my mum recently, just a few days ago, isn't it crazy that we sat around the table and we had this huge challenge ahead of us to save a house with more money than, I was just finished uni and six figures, big mortgage payment. That's a crazy amount of money that I just couldn't even imagine. And to say now that we've got close to actually resolving that problem based on the little family meeting we had 4 years ago. And all thanks to Bitcoin, it's just absolutely crazy. That learning process, understanding it, how it can help other families like ours when the next recession comes along. They need to be protected. They need to be on the positive side of a wealth transfer. And in order to do that, they need hard money. And we just wanted to spread that message to as many families as possible. And that's how the motorsport side came into it. And I've been going on for ages now, so I'll pass back to you.
No, go ahead, go ahead. It's your day today to be talking. I do enough talking.
Oh, thank you, man.
No, but that's an amazing story, and it's great the way the whole family is focused on this now, and they understand what it is. And me myself personally, I'm really grateful because my partner as well is into Bitcoin as well, and she totally gets it, and she comes to the events with me. We've been to Amsterdam, we've been to Madeira, we're going to be going to El Salvador next year.
Oh,
We're
cool.
planning all, yeah, yeah. So that's really amazing because we find a lot of people out there that they're kind of lonely, the guys, what I mean, get it about Bitcoin, they understand what it, but they don't get the support really from the home. And when you have that support, yeah, you go all in.
That's so true. And I mean, like I was explaining to you earlier, I've had friends ask me about Bitcoin at various times over the last 4 or 5 years. And, they just come into it with the mindset of making money. And they're not really willing to put in the extra work and the thousands of hours like you've done. You said 8,000 hours of studying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They're not really willing to do that. So to have, like, yeah, like you said, like a partner who's on board and understands it and who's interested means that she's going to learn things and tell you about them to improve your knowledge. And that's what happens with my family. We all hear something that Michael Saylor's said, or someone's found a documentary or a book, and we share it with each other and help each other learn. And that gives you the basis for being able to hold on through the volatility because you understand what this thing is trying to do and how it's going to make the world better. So to actually get people on board is quite a complicated and difficult task. But it's
It takes
our
time though. That's what it's about.
Mm.
Yeah, people think that they can learn this in a 1 hour conversation or looking at something for a few hours. But there's no way. Minimum, you need to be doing 40 or 50 hours of work on it before something clicks in your head, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And for us as well, like we came into Bitcoin because of from like a negative experience, and a lot of people haven't experienced that. Like, if you were in a stable job during 2008, you were still able to pay the bills, live your life, and it was as if nothing was happening. So those there's traditionally been a way that you can resonate in people's minds with Bitcoin is by telling them about how effed up the financial system is. But that's very negative. And also, if someone hasn't experienced the negative side of it, they're like, "What are you talking about? I've been absolutely fine the whole of my life. That makes no sense to me. It doesn't resonate with me at all." So, the challenge has been, in my eyes, orange pilling people has to start in a somewhat negative way to help them fully understand it. And that's why I like kind of what we're doing with the racing because it's a positive way of putting that message in front of people, and it's associating Bitcoin with something that they love, which is going to the race weekends every weekend, a sport that they follow. Um, they're loyal supporters of the racing and they come to these races every weekend. And then to see Bitcoin associated with something they like and they're excited about is a positive way, a positive impression to get them thinking about Bitcoin in the future. So that's what we really like. And there is data that shows that sports sponsorship actually, on average, you see a 10 to 20% positivity lift for the companies involved. So, and that's because obviously, let's say Ray-Ban on a Ferrari, people see the Ray-Ban logo going across the finish line in pole position, and they see it on these really cool drivers, and they just associate the brands with all the luxury and the glory of the racing, and that makes people think about it much more positively. So we just want to do that for Bitcoin. Um, and in the media as well, there's lots of negativity around Bitcoin in terms of energy consumption, us all being psychopaths and selfish. And they see it very negatively, unfortunately. Lots of people say it's a Ponzi scheme, which I find absolutely crazy. So they've just got in their minds after they've been told by the media, which happens all too much. The media says one thing and they believe it, and you can't change their mind. Um, so now it's just about helping people see it in a positive light, to see it more often, and to associate Bitcoin with the glory of Chris winning his racing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can get into that now in a few minutes as well, and all about the racing and everything. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's a great way that you're explaining how you're trying to get the message out there by with the racing. Yeah, and it's really positive, and when people see the the Bitcoin logo going around and all the different sponsors that are on the car, and when it goes across the finish line there as well, and they're saying, look, it really catches people's eyes. Yeah. So t tell me a little bit about how the racing has been going, and you can say about Chris there. I seen he won his first race there as well
Yeah,
recently. Congratulations to him.
thank you. Yeah, so but I think in 2021 we had our first season, and that was in a small championship called the City Car Cup. So it was just kind of an entry level series where it's a great breeding ground because it's not too expensive in terms of motor racing. It's nice and fun. There's big grids, but the problem with it was that there's not much media attention. There's not many fans that attend the racing, and no TV time at all. So it was a great place for us to get started in the first 2 years because it helped Chris improve his skills massively. And the car that we were using is a front wheel drive Citroen C1. It's literally a car taken off the road. You strip it, leave the same rubbish engine in it, and then you just go racing. So that's why it's slightly more affordable than most other championships. And that was a front wheel drive car. And that's helped him learn how to master a front wheel drive car, even though it's slow. But all the techniques, for example, something that I didn't get to grips with for a long time is that if you feel the car spinning, you actually need to go flat out so the front wheels pull you back out. Whereas I would be crapping myself, slamming the brake. So yeah, Chris learnt those tricks on how to master a front wheel drive car. And then obviously, as a small family, we've been trying to grow our presence in the Bitcoin community as well, to get more followers, more fans of motorsports to follow us. And over those times of growing, obviously associating with us becomes more attractive from sponsorship opportunities as well. So in the third year, we decided, okay, we need a class that uses front wheel drive cars that has television time and hundreds of thousands of fans that comes to racing, because then we can reach way more millions of people with the Bitcoin message in this exciting way. So we found a series called the Mini Challenge, and it actually is a support race to the British Touring Car Championship, which is the UK's most famous motorsport championship and the biggest one we have. In terms of viewership, there's only Formula One and MotoGP have more viewership than the British Touring Car Championship. So it is massive. And a lot of conversations I've had, especially with American people, they're like, what's the British Touring Car Championship? That doesn't sound very big. We only know about NASCAR, but this is a massive championship. Um, and the minis are support races to them. So when the touring cars aren't on the track, the minis fill the gap and entertain the people who have come to watch the racing. But because of that, the minis also benefit from the massive exposure of the championship. So it has 17 million viewers on ITV4, which obviously you know here is a primetime channel,
Yeah.
and over 400,000 spectators attending the races throughout the season. So we knew this is a massive championship, big exposure. Um, and also the minis, comparatively to the touring cars, are also more affordable. So we thought, the price looks okay. Still pretty tough, which I won't lie about. It's hit my dad's Bitcoin wallet pretty hard. But not tough in the sense that it's going to cost millions to go racing. So in terms of balancing the exposure to the cost, we went with the mini challenge, which was a kind of a perfect fit for us. And in our first ever race weekend, that was crazy baptism of fire, to be honest, because in the mini challenge, this is where it gets a bit complicated. I'm terrible at explaining it, but there's two classes of cars. The faster ones have a sequential gearbox, so you pull the gearbox, the gear stick towards you to go up, no clutch needed, and you push it forwards to go down. And then there's a sport class which has an H pattern gearbox, just like an everyday car, but they're slightly slower. So we started in the fast ones, and Chris was in qualifying, and we were at Donington Park, and there's this part of the circuit called Craner Curves where you go down a big hill at 100 miles an hour. And Chris's gearbox basically imploded and it span his car around at 100 miles an hour. Um, and after coming from being in a 60 horsepower Citroen to his first race in a 200 and something plus Mini, that knocked his confidence big time. Um, and and then obviously we faced quite a substantial bill to get it fixed. It's like we have to fix this because we need to be in the race tomorrow. So we actually spent all night fixing it. So there's a lot of proof of work that goes into this, taking a gearbox out, removing all the shredded cogs, which were absolutely obliterated, and getting the new parts in and putting the gearbox back. So by some miracle, we got the car on the grid for the next day. And then in the race, the gearbox went again. So we had to make a decision.
Double trouble.
Exactly. I think it's just because those gearbox are put through so much pressure and you're not using a clutch, you're just slamming the gear in. And that means that throughout a season, you're going to have to rebuild that gearbox a lot of times. And obviously, the problem with that is the associated costs with buying the parts. So we made the decision then, this is going to wipe us out. We won't be able to complete the championship. So what we need to do is join the new sports class. So move to a more reliable gearbox. And we did that. Um, Obviously meant that we missed out on 3 races and didn't accumulate the points from those races. So in terms of the championship standing, we were pretty compromised. But that gearbox was a complete joy and it survived the whole season. No problems at all, apart from one time it wouldn't go into reverse. So we just had to fix that. But apart from that, it was brilliant. Obviously, we saved the money not having to replace that more temperamental gearbox. And in that season, Chris went from leap to leap, just learning that car. For us as a team, just a small family team as well, learning how to operate it because, we're going from a car that was built to go on the road to a car that's built to be a race car. So there's lots of technical differences we had to get our head around as well. But overall, I think his best was 2 second places, which we were very happy with. He got a fastest lap in one of the rounds, and finished on the podium pretty much almost every weekend, apart from maybe a couple of tough ones. So it was a really awesome, enjoyable experience. And for us, we now know how to set up a car in that series that can win. And that's the plan next year. Because what happened at the end of the season was we thought, oh, we still want to race. So he just wants to be in a car all the time. So like, okay, you can have another round in the City Car Cup, but you better do well. So we went to Brands Hatch and he actually got his first place win out of his entire career. And that was in a
Amazing.
motorboat as well. He seems to be just amazing in the wet. It's like a duck to water. And when we posted that video, I was really surprised because we'd been in a championship that's had millions of viewers, and then we've gone into a small championship, but we got our first win. And suddenly it's getting retweeted by Adam Back, and everyone's liking it, including you, which we're very thankful for. And it ends up getting like 35,000 views or something. So we now know that we need to be a winning team because people want Bitcoin to be number one as it rightly should be.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
definitely,
that's a summary
definitely.
of the season.
Yeah, it's the number one asset. It's the number one piece of hope. It's our number one
Yeah,
insurance. It's a number one piece of freedom. So it's the number one everything, and it's gonna be the number one in sports as well. That's what's
yeah,
gonna happen. Yeah,
absolutely. And yeah, we can see Peter just winning absolutely everything. It's just amazing. And that's part of it because maybe people in the crowd they think, oh, that team's losing all the time, they're not very good. That would actually lead to them having a negative kind of perception of us. So now we've had this time to learn, um, we can now operate this car so it wins. And also the other kind of issues that we have in the championship itself is because it's the top league, the professional leagues, there's people in there with unlimited budgets. Like, so some people will spend hundreds of thousands for a season in the mini challenge, repairing those gearboxes and making sure that car is perfect for every single race. And there's teams that operate, one of them has 10 cars. One of them is Napa Racing, which was the British Touring Car champion last year. They run four minis. So they know what they're doing and they've got the budgets to go with it. So competing against them as me, my mum, my dad, Chris, and an apprentice who only had experience in the Citroen C1s was pretty damn hard. So we needed that year to learn, and now we want to go in and go hell for leather and just make sure Chris is on top. So yeah,
amazing.
pretty hard.
Yeah.
That's the brutal part of motor racing is the kind of disparity in budgets and things like that. But slowly but surely we'll work our way up, I'm sure.
Sure, you know the rule gradually, 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 then suddenly it's just going to
Yeah,
take off, and that's what's going to happen. I'd say
exactly.
next season. Yeah. So I see you have a Bukele hat there behind you. Tell us a little bit of story about that. I seen that you ended up in El Salvador at one stage last year, wasn't it? Was it last year? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we've actually been to El Salvador four times now. And we're going in November for the Adopting Bitcoin conference as well, which will be our fifth visit. So I'm actually going on next Wednesday, which I'm so excited for. I think any other country, if I'd been there five times, I'd be like, can we please go somewhere else? But with El Salvador, it's just so nice because the people are so friendly. You can obviously spend Bitcoin, which is such a cool feeling, in places like McDonald's, Domino's, all the big chains accept it. You can buy fuel, you can buy from corner shops, and it's just this surreal feeling, and you kind of experience what the future is going to look like. And obviously, it's been incredible for El Salvador. There's not been one moment where we've been worried or threatened or even seen anything that looks to be antisocial behavior, not once in four visits. On my first time there, we went to San Salvador, and when we left the hotel, I saw Max Kaiser walking past on his own in shorts and and orange glasses and trainers. And I did feel have a bit of trepidation about it because obviously we'd read about El Salvador being the world's most unsafe country. And then I left the hotel and I saw him walking up the street on his own in shorts as a figure who is very well known and to be very well known to have a lot of Bitcoin. So he's a perfect target, but he's walking around El Salvador on his own in his shorts, completely fine. And even we've driven like hundreds of miles across the country exploring it, been to places like Berlin, to the volcanoes, um, to all these beautiful towns. And even
So
on the
did
drive,
you meet did you connect up with Charlie Stevens down there up in Berlin? Was he over
Yeah,
there when you were
yes,
over
I
there,
have.
Charlie
Yeah,
and Nikki and James?
yeah,
I connected to them as well. Yeah.
you have. Yeah, no, they're amazing. They've done such a good job in Berlin as well. I mean, virtually every shop accepts Bitcoin there, and yeah, we kind of played our part with that because there was a few shops that didn't. So we went in and said, "Can we buy this? But we've only got Bitcoin." And when they said no, we won't accept Bitcoin, we had to leave because that was all we had. But
Yeah.
hopefully that stuck in their minds that they lost some customers that day. And I'm sure now, after maybe a year or so since we visited, that they will be accepting Bitcoin because they can see that it's one of the hubs now to go and visit. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just crazy in my mind how I've seen absolutely no antisocial behavior whatsoever in all the long drives, looking out the window, in all the places we've been to, absolutely nothing. And you do in the UK, and maybe where you're from, you
Mhm.
see the streets, people having fights or people hurling abuse or being a bit yobbish. There's nothing like that in El Salvador. It's he's just done such a good job. Um, but you still, I told a colleague from work today, I'm going to El Salvador on Wednesday, and he was like, "Isn't that the most unsafe place in the world?" And it's like people still don't know the improvements that have been made either. So El Salvador, when that starts hitting the mainstream, it's just going to blow up as well. But really, it's a beautiful country. The people are friendly. It's fun. It's affordable. You can spend Bitcoin. It's where I want to retire.
That's the future, all right. Yeah. The way they're going down there and the way Bukele is. And luckily for them down there as well, he's in again for another 4 or 5 years. He just won the election down there. Overwhelming results. I think he got over 75% of the votes, didn't he? Down there, yeah.
Incredible.
And recently he's only after announcing there that he's not going to be borrowing from the IMF or the International Monetary Fund anymore and the World Banks. So they're stacking their Bitcoin down there as well. He's got rid of all the gangs. I think only last week they done another operation down there. There's something starting to rise again, some gangs, and they got I think 2,000 soldiers and
Yep.
500 police, or else 500 police and 2,000 soldiers, and just went into this area, surrounded, and just went in and took them all out.
Yep.
That's it. No to
It
zero
happens.
tolerance for gangs.
Yeah, if there's any crime in any of the cities, they will literally surround the whole area and make sure they find the root cause and eliminate it. It's absolutely crazy, and it's so safe that this time round when we go, my sister's three sisters are coming for the first time, and my sister's son, which is he's called Rex. He's only 3 years old, so we're comfortable enough to bring the family and the kids. And I'm interested to see how they find it. But it obviously would have never been somewhere they'd have gone to before he did everything that he's done. So yeah, I'm probably going to get some videos of their reactions. They'll probably say the same as me. I want to get a beach house and retire out here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can be excited when you go.
I think there's gonna be a lot of Bitcoiners over time heading over there. I think, and what I can see happening in the future as well, especially with all the chaos and madness that's happening out there, there's gonna be pockets around the world, yeah, that Bitcoiners will end up going to, yeah,
Yep,
yeah, because as we know, if your assets are in Bitcoin, unlike other people's, they're in property, they're in gold. They don't realize when something happens in your country, like what's happened in other countries, like in the Middle East and everything. Yeah. It just hasn't happened here where we are yet and in the West. But, it can happen very easily and things can change very easily.
exactly. So it's always been on my radar that at some point I will probably need to escape the UK because I did not enjoy how things were dealt with during the COVID crisis. So obviously, that's a slightly emotive topic. Um, but for me, that was not dealt with in the right way whatsoever. I actually have a background in science as well, so I was able to go a bit deeper. Um,
Hmm.
and the whole thing didn't sit right with me. And also, potentially introducing central bank currencies, that's pretty scary because that adds a whole layer of extra control over us. Um, it's likely that there probably will be another pandemic as well. And if they deal with it in a similar way to they dealt with this one, perhaps go even further, that would be something that I 100% want nothing to do with. And then I would go to El Salvador. And I honestly feel that is going to happen in my life. I'm not, hopefully not too soon because I need to build the stack up. I think it's okay for someone of my age because obviously started about 4 or 5 years ago now. Just putting monthly paychecks in and stacking it, not selling anything. Apart from one time when I wanted to race at Brands Hatch, I had to sell some. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty lucky as well because obviously we can actually we're not kind of stuck to any country. We can take all of our assets and get the hell out, and find somewhere safe that shares our values. And I'm pretty certain that that will be something I have to do in the future. And I don't know if you've met Prem before. He was a driver with our team in back in the Citroens, but he's just bought some land in Berlin
All
uh,
right.
as an escape kind of uh, escape plan. So yeah, he's preparing that now, building on the land. So he's
How does it work in El Salvador? Can a foreign national go in and buy property or land there and own it themselves? Like,
well, Charlie, who you mentioned, is involved a lot with the real estate in Berlin, and he actually facilitated Prem's purchase in Bitcoin. And they're
mm,
very open to having foreign investors come in. Um, I do think if you're listening to this and you want to buy somewhere in El Salvador, you should probably act fast because it's a good place for investment now for beachside properties and things like that. But yeah, in general, they're also banks there will give mortgages to people. So there's lots of options. So yeah, I guess we should say reach out to Charlie from Bitcoin Berlin and he'll sort you out. But
yeah, yeah, he's a good guy. He is. Charlie's amazing. He is. Yeah,
very
yeah.
smart. He's a cool guy. He does some really interesting talks as well. He'll probably be speaking at the conference as well. So, are you not coming for that one?
No, I'm not coming this year. No, I've been traveling a lot this year, so I'm just
Okay.
grounded now for now. I've been away about 4 or 5 times this year already on different trips
Lovely.
and everything. Uh, but I'm meant to go to the UK now in 2 weeks' time as well. So,
Okay. You want to come
I
and see?
don't know whereabouts are you?
So we're in Kent.
All
Uh,
right, okay. I'm going to
so
Bristol. I am for a few days.
oh, nice. There's a lot of good accents you'll find there.
I'll meet a few Bitcoiners
Um,
down there anyway as
but yeah,
well.
that's
I'll
good to
link up
see.
with a few people.
But yeah, I mean, if you ever come to the UK and you want to come and see our race cars or have a ride with Chris,
Yeah,
I'd love to do that. It'd be cool, man.
nice, nice. So what's the plan then for yourselves then regarding for next year? Yeah, and any trips or any events you're doing or any talks or anything like that you're doing?
So we will have a slot in El Salvador just to do a small panel. That's going to just be talking about how and when Bitcoin can become a medium of exchange. So we're looking forward to that. I think the plan for 2025 in terms of racing is what would be very cool is to get the budget together to actually move into the higher class in the mini series, so the ones with the problematic gearbox. Obviously, the main reason for that is because they're running at the front, they do get more camera time and more exposure on TV. So we want to make sure that we maximize the visibility for the big Bitcoin logos on the car. Um, and obviously, for the commentators speaking about the team as Bitcoin Racing has gone into second place, gone up to first. We want to hear all that excitement as well about the team. So hopefully we can collect the budget to do that. We've had some great sponsors this year, and some of them are interested in going again for the second year, which is a great sign because it shows us they've had an enjoyable experience, that it has been something that's been worthwhile for them. So to see them having confidence in coming back again for a second year is really great. And in particular, the mining company is called Green Mining DAO. They're based in Paraguay, using 100% renewable energy from hydroelectric from the hydro dam, and they've been an amazing supporter for us. And then there's also an FCA regulated exchange, which Chris actually works for, called Archax, who have also been incredible, great partners for us as well. And we hope we can persuade them to join us again and hopefully go up a level, make sure we're in the faster cars on TV the whole time. So that's the plan for that. And we do attend events throughout the year. Lots of the time it's for the sponsors. So if they want the car present, because obviously it brings a lot of people around taking pictures, asking questions. It's a great way to kind of bring those people around their brand. So we've been to a few really great events. Sometimes we race in Scotland, so we do meetups. We've done a sim challenge before, which is really fun, where people tried to beat Chris's lap time on the sim, which someone actually did, which is embarrassing. So we had to pay him 321,000 sats, 321. But
Right.
the good thing was they were his first ever sats. So that was cool. We've done like mini conferences at Silverstone, so people will come down, we'll set up under our awning, have a little screen there and have some speeches and things. I think last year we had around 120 people come by to Silverstone, so they were able to have a conference experience with some live racing as well. So those are kind of cool things we get up to. Um, I'm keeping my fingers crossed and obviously working hard to try and get 2025 sorted because there's two reasons that I'm kind of pushed to do that. The first one is because I want Bitcoin to be out there in front of people. Only around 4.4% of the UK have actually adopted Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So that could actually mean that some of those have only cryptos and no Bitcoin. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. And the second reason is it's because it's my brother's dream. It's what brings him joy and happiness, and just love the idea of supporting him in his career as well. So that's why, even though there's been a lot of times where I think this is really hard and I want to give up, and we've done 2 years racing through a bear market, we keep going and we keep pushing.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. And just finally, before we wrap it up, okay, what would you say to any other teams or sports teams out there? Okay, why should they be looking at Bitcoin and looking at it as like some encouragement and hope, yeah, for the sport that they're in? Yeah, so why should other sports team be adopting Bitcoin?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And I guess from a selfish perspective, it differentiates you and it opens you up to a new target market, a new kind of category of sponsors. And it also tells those sponsors that you share the same mindset and values and you understand the mission. And that would make you a very good option for them to sponsor because you understand the ecosystem and what's going on. And you can also understand what their companies are trying to do because you've been involved in the space and you understand Bitcoin. So that's like the selfish perspective. Obviously, you can see for Peter McCormack, that's working really well. I think he publishes his figures. He had over 500,000 in sponsorships, um, and and also a community that's going to back you. Because in like the City Car Cup, you don't have fans or followers, but our team did. And we'd have 120 people showing up to Silverstone for a small kind of community league championship. And all the other guys would see our team and think, how on earth have they got 120 people at their marquee watching them with orange balloons, wearing their merchandise and supporting them? And it's the exact same for Peter McCormack as well. You see all the fans that go to his football games, and you compare that to other teams in the same league. What are the crowd sizes for them? So it differentiates you. It opens you up to a new market and a very supportive one as well. And people who will back you through everything you go through because they know you're
Yeah.
trying to benefit and improve the world as well by presenting Bitcoin to people who are outside of our little bubble.
Yeah. Definitely, the community is something else, isn't it? It's an amazing, amazing community. Yeah, I've often said on numerous times, yeah, about the community and the people that you meet, and when you go to the events as well, and you meet so many different people that you never really get in touch with. Yeah, and everybody's so open, yeah, to communicating and contacting and networking and helping each other. Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
It's just if you go to a Bitcoin event, you're guaranteed to leave with about five more friends because you just connect with each other instantly. And I guess our mindset is quite different. So if you go to, a normal day out and you connect with people, it's harder to actually connect with them because they don't understand our way of thinking. But when you go to a Bitcoin event, it's just like you become best friends straight away. So
Yeah.
it's really nice. But it makes it quite hard in other situations to make friends with people because I want to talk about Bitcoin all the time.
So we're just hanging out with Bitcoiners. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about. That's what happens, isn't it?
I know. Exactly.
In the end. So just to wrap it up there, if anybody is out there and they're looking at the podcast and they want to get in touch with yourself, yeah,
Yeah.
regarding racing or even coming out for one of the days, I know you do a few events yourselves as well. What's the best way, or even sponsors, if there's any sponsors out there that want to get in touch with Charlie, how would they get in contact with you? Contact with you?
Yeah, so you can just reach out to me by email, which is charlie@bitcoinracing.info. You can connect with us on Twitter, and even on the website as well. There's a contact section is there if anyone wants to reach out. And you know, we always say even someone coming to our Twitter profile and giving us a like or comment, it makes such a big difference. And we really notice it because we're a small family team. So whenever someone supports us or says something nice or invites us to a podcast like you, it really means a lot, and we so appreciate it. So, if anyone wants to just come by, drop a like, that helps us because it improves the engagement on the social medias, and that therefore encourages sponsors to come along because they know they're going to be involved with a team that's got a bit more reach, and can help their company grow as well. So, literally, just a like or a repost or a comment, it's something as simple as that. We really appreciate it. And sponsors as well, we've got some great packages from startups. We make motorsport affordable. It can be Sponsorships can be dealt with in monthly installments so that it's not, horrible six-figure sums. That's a common misconception that motorsport sponsorships actually crazy money and is going to break the bank, and just end up being a waste of money. That's not the case. And obviously things can be tailored for anyone to help them reach their goals as well. So with that said, thank you so much for your time and having me on.
And thank you. Thank you. We'll have you on again anyway. We'll keep in touch and we'll catch up soon. Yeah. And we'll drop all the links to the description, the website, and all your profiles in the description below. And thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.